Cue that sexy new intro. Trust the profits. This is the formula here, and today I've come to talk to you about the Southwest Stakes to give you a full field rundown. But first, let's get a little business out of the way. It's tip sheet season. I know a lot of you have asked about our tip sheets in the past as we get ready for the Derby season. So now's the time for you to find out how you can get them. So this year, we're going through YouTube. You can pick these tip sheets up through the YouTube community, going through those message boards. There's two levels, the flight line and the rich strike. Flight line costs $20 a month, but you get everything. Any tip sheet we put out, it's always three or more per week, three minimum. And we'll be hitting on all the Derby preps and all the Triple Crowns, including the Kentucky Derby. If you want to go to the cheaper tier, $8 a month, Rich Strike, that gives you one Saturday slate per month. It's going to hit a whole bunch of the Kentucky Derby prep races. But yeah, that's one slate per month for Rich Strike and everything that we put out for Flightline. There are the options. Let's get on with the Southwest. The field is 9 horses. The date is January 28, 2023. The park is Oaklawn. It is a G3 race, 8.5 furlongs on dirt as we are getting ready for the Kentucky Derby. Who are the horses? Let's start with Sun Thunder. Sun Thunder, 10-1 odds. 2 races under his belt, 1 win, 1 third place. Broke his maiden December 31st at Oaklawn in a 90K, 1 mile maiden claiming race. Won that race by 6.5 lengths. Pretty impressive considering there was a field of 12 horses there, only a mile. Came back from 7th place to win this too. So we were talking about a horse that has some real serious closing ability. First race out, finished 3rd place in a 12 horse field, 7 furlongs in a maiden special weight. Was 11th at the halfway point in this race. So the fact that he finished 3rd again demonstrates what kind of closer we're talking about here with Sun Thunder. Very impressive Ken McPeak horse, in my opinion. But if you want to talk about impressive, we got to talk about Arabian Night. At Keeneland in November, I think we all saw what Arabian Night did. 7 furlongs, yes. We're talking about an 8.5 furlong race here, but what did he do in those 7 furlongs? He wired the whole race. 7.25 lengths between him and the next horse, determinedly. And he really stretched it out at the end there. He really started to pour on the speed and make it look like he was ready for 2 turns. Arabian Night, this is the next Bob Baffert wire-to-wire winner. Last 2 workouts, 59-second 5 furlong workouts, looking pretty solid here. Arabian Night, that is your 1-to-1 morning line favorite. JACE'S rode the first of 3 Brad Cox horses in this race. And yeah, JACE'S rode last out, Gunrunner Stakes at the Fairgrounds in December, 8.5 furlong race. He's gone the distance. He won that by 5.5 lengths. Pretty impressive here. Beat determinedly there. And Ray's Kane dropped his jockey at the Street Sense. So we're going to put an X through that one. Really hard to determine what JACE'S road can do based on that. Ran 3rd, 8.5 furlong race at the Iroquois Stakes, G3 in September. But that's back in September. He did lose to Honed and Curly Jack in that race. I think the last run out, though, the Gunrunner Stakes is what we're going to be using to judge JACE'S road, and he's looking pretty sharp going into this. Hit Show. Brad Cox's number 2 horse. Number 2. Last time out in the 1 mile, 104K allowance race at Oaklawn. Won that one by 3.5 lengths, beating Invulnerable and Protege. Ran 8.5 furlongs before that, finishing 4.7 lengths behind, was in the back of the pack most of the race, managed to rally for 4th, but had some traffic issues there. Hit Show, an interesting horse to consider here. We'll talk about that in the final slide. Frosted Departure, not my favorite McPeak horse in this race. One of the more experienced horses. Last time out, he did win a 6 furlong stakes race at Oaklawn by a head over 2 Eagles River and Bourbon Bash. Previous to that, though, 4th place finish at the Advent Stakes, 3 lengths behind in that one, a 5 furlong race. 3rd place at the Ed Brown, got me there. 2 lengths back in that one, a 6 furlong race. I mean, we're talking about a horse that has been running sub 1 mile races, not really showing a whole lot in any of these races, not really pouring it on at the end to show that he really wants that distance. I'm not very high on Frosted Departure at all. I'm calling him a toss. El Tomate. broke his maiden first time out at Remington in a 33K maiden special, 7 furlong race. Had a 5 1/4 length win in a 7 horse field. Is that enough to say that he can pull this off in an 8.5 furlong race? A G3 nonetheless, going up from a 33K claimer at Remington. I've got my doubts on El Tomate. Interesting horse. Love him for the future. Not so much this race right now. Corona Bolt. This is the horse that's probably given me the most pain in terms of determining how I should place him here. I've gone back and forth on Corona Bolt. Winner of the Sugar Bowl Stakes on December 26th, a 6 furlong race, and he won that by 6 3/4 lengths. Pretty impressive. Wired the field, built up distance at the end, which is what you want to see. You can make the same argument for Arabian Night, right? Didn't really race the distance. Arabian Night had 1 more furlong on him. Um, Corona Bolt's first time out, broke his maiden, again going 6.5 furlongs, won that one by 1 length. Both races 6 furlongs. So it's difficult for me to jump into this and say that going up to 8.5 furlongs, he's not going to have an issue. We've seen this sometimes, even with Brad Cox horses jumping up to that next level. I would have rather seen him in another race, not a G3 against Arabian Night, when he's got to go up to that 8.5 furlong distance. Corona Bolt, though, it's hard to it's hard to say that he doesn't have the talent. Hard to say that he'll never get there. Let's talk about this at the end. Red Route 1 win in 5 races in the third place as well. Pictured here at the Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes behind Instant Coffee, but in a pack of about 3 other horses. He did finish fourth in that race, but as you can see, he was very close to the finish here, very close to Instant Coffee. Had traffic issues in the street sense. First across the finish line after Loggins and Forte at the Claiborne. Uh, this is a horse that finds himself in that next tier quite often, right? It's had some traffic issues, probably not as good as Forte and Loggins. Broke his maiden at Kentucky Downs, which is an interesting place to break your maiden if you're gearing up for the Kentucky Derby. Red Route 1, Asmussen horse, interesting, but not in my top 4. Spoiler alert. Western Ghent. So I just showed you a picture of the Kentucky Jockey Club. This is the picture multiple seconds later. Western Gent, finishing well behind the pack that you just saw there. We'll call this horse a toss. So the strategy. The favorite here, Arabian Night, 1-1 to win. It's a pretty safe bet at this point that Arabian Night is going to come in here and break things up. I put Corona Bolt as a value play here. I think the two could really get into a head-to-head pace-setting match. It'll be interesting to see who fares better in this. I have a feeling it's going to be Arabian Night. Corona Bolt, again, both of them going the distance for the first time. If you're going to talk about a larger box here, I think Arabian Night is the one that I would rather key of the two. And then you have to add in JACE'S Road. Corona Bolt, who I said was a value play at 6-1. I'm putting him in there as well, but I really like Sun Thunder here. I I really like Sun Thunder here. I wanted to put Hit Show in here as well. Had a toss up between him and Corona Bolt. Sun Thunder, I have a feeling with his closing ability, with the fact that Arabian Night and Corona Bolt could get into a duel early on and could tire, Sun Thunder could come in and steal some of that later on. I think that could be an interesting play here, is boxing up Arabian Night, Corona Bolt, Jesus Road, and Sun Thunder. Keen on Arabian Night. That would be a $9 play for a trifecta. Uh, if those horses come in the right order, could end up paying out pretty well. If they come in the wrong order, you get Arabian Night on top and maybe a chalky JACE'S Road in second, then maybe it doesn't pay out so well, but I think it's worth a risk here. I think they're one of Sun Thunder and Hit Show could end up coming in here, but I'm going to go with Sun Thunder right now just because I like what he's done so far. Anyway, enough for me. What do you guys think? Hit us up in the comment section. Did I put this together properly? Do you think I have the right horses here? Did I go too chalky? What's going to happen with the odds? Throw all that into the comment section below. Hit the subscribe button. And thank you, as always, for watching and joining.